So, with the United States withdrawing out of the Paris Climate Agreement, I thought it would be the perfect time to debut my solution to global warming. These ideas and concepts that I had come up with about 5 years ago when I was 15. I've been trying to build companies around them since then. I've had 6 failed startups. I decided, what the heck, I'm gonna just open source these ideas because I'm not trying to solve global warming for my own gains. If there's any aspect of these ideas that you like, comment in the section below, but also take them and apply to them to your life. Some of you guys might be engineers, software engineers, designers, all the 9 yards. Share the video. But without any further ado, this is what I think we could do to solve global warming or get us in the right steps towards solving and reversing global warming. The current global status is the human population is growing. Right now, we're about, 7 billion people, almost to 8 billion people now. Most of this population increase will be coming from less developed countries, basically developing countries. And so 5 years ago, I was focusing a lot of my effort into solving infrastructure problems, food related problems, electricity, basic needs for developing countries. And so I used Africa as an example, and I'll get to that later. But couple that, with the global temperature rising. This temperature increasing is, a definite indicator that global warming is a thing. I'm still surprised that we have to talk about that and try to prove it. But anyways, 5 years ago, I was thinking about, hey, how can we build a better future for humanity, not just for myself? And so I looked around the world and I saw, hey, we have a lot of deserts. Africa has the Sahara Desert. The California is drying up and they're having, unpredictable rainfalls. There's the Namib Desert in South Africa. There's the Middle East, which is, mostly desert. And so there's a lot of deserts, even in Australia has its own desert. But the interesting thing that all these deserts have in common is that they're surrounded by large water bodies. So in America, we have the Pacific Ocean. The Sahara Desert is surrounded by the Atlantic Ocean, Mediterranean Sea, the Red Sea, Indian Ocean. And so, the deserts in the Middle East. And, Australia has its Indian Ocean surrounding its desert, right? And so I was like, hey, why don't we change these deserts into livable places, given that our population is rising and we need, new places for people to live in and new jobs and stuff like that. And so I was like, hey, why not come up with a solution that I can apply on not just deserts in Africa, and I will use Africa as an example, but this solution theoretically can be applied to all these hot deserts. Fun fact, Antarctica is actually a desert. It's a cold desert, and so that's why I specified hot deserts. Anyways, so we'll use the Sahara Desert in Africa as a template for how we could bring developing countries into the status of developed countries, allowing us to create a better future for humanity in general. And so, diving straight into it, the Sahara Desert is 3.6 million square miles. In comparison, the continental United States is 3.1 million square miles. So I'll let that sink in. The Sahara Desert is bigger than continental America. In other words, I can fit the continent of America in the Sahara Desert. Another way to look at it is Africa basically has another landmass the size of America that it's not utilizing right, which is crazy to think about.